for Tate Ratledge is steep, and I think he's shown enough good play to believe that he can be a solution in-house this season. Glasgow, I hope he can do the job. You're not going to have a all-pro bowler at every position. That's clear. What you hope is that a guy cannot be a weakness. And then Mahogany. Mahogany's going to come back. Here's the data that can help. First of all, everything is predicated on something you brought up already, and that's Penei Sewell and Decker staying healthy. It's almost at a point to me that they're like Goff, that if they're lost for the season, then you probably are done or close to done. But them being as close to healthy is one of the non-negotiables that I think we can have 100% agreement on. The question is, can they be good with what they have left? I went back and looked at the games some of their depth guys that might be counted on played last year. And some of the big names are Coyote, Awasika, and Dan Skipper. Awasika played in 2 games in 2024 where it looked like he played every offensive snap. So either came in early or started and played. They were both against good teams, Seattle and Minnesota, and the Lions won both games with Awasika starting and playing at guard.
I believe he also started in the NFC Championship game.
I'm not sure about that. I didn't see that on his game log, but maybe I missed it. The other one's Dan Skipper. Dan Skipper started and played the entire game. I don't know if he started. It looks like he played the entire game or the bulk of the game at tackle in a win over a good Green Bay team last year. So why do they believe in their guys in-house? Well, those guys in-house have started and played and in big games in the past, games that they won. Do I wish they upgraded? Sure. You can't ever, as a GM, not look at every possibility to upgrade. But those guys have started and played in games that the Lions won, big games, not over chump teams, big games. So take it for what it's worth. You can use that information and say, oh, that's awesome, and I feel a little bit better. Or you can blow it off and say, no, they still suck. I'm encouraged by that. If you go back and look how those guys were used in the past, when called upon, when called up for duty, did the team have success? And the answer was yes.
And Awasika did start against San Francisco in that NFC Championship game.
A couple years ago. That's why I didn't see it, because it was 2 years ago.
So he's got experience. There's no question. Like I said earlier, I mean, he's competing for that job with Mahogany for the starter's job this year. I don't have much of an issue at all with Awasika. I think they clearly have confidence in Coyote to get the job done. I'm worried about the tackles. And maybe I shouldn't be worried at all about Penei Sewell.
You mean their health?
Yeah. That's where I'm worried about it, because if there was an opportunity, and this I just answer my own question, if there was an opportunity to upgrade a tackle, go do it. And upgrading meaning on your roster doesn't have to be upgrade over Taylor Decker necessarily, because I think Decker's really good. But if he's not going to be healthy enough to play, then I need somebody who's better than the next option, which is Dan Skipper likely. Is that there? Was that available in trade? And if it wasn't, then it wasn't. Fair enough. I can say that, okay, because that was really the number one priority for me.
Yeah.
That you had to find a lineman of some kind that was going to be better than what your options were as guys that have to step in and be next man up. The other thing, and touched on it briefly yesterday, and I know people want to compare what Philadelphia does to what the Lions do, because Philadelphia has won Super Bowls and they've been ultra aggressive when it comes to trades and things of that nature, and figuring out their salary cap and whatnot. And I think there is something to when you move your picks. Philadelphia likes to move the draft picks at the trade deadline. The Lions like to move their draft picks on draft day.
That's true.
And I wonder if that's just a principle that Brad Holmes has, or if it's just a coincidence that's when he does it, or if this is just an ever-changing and evolving philosophy that he has as a general manager. But there's been an awful lot of movement that he's done in the draft, some of it really good and some of it very questionable. And And then when it comes to the trade deadline, when you see players that are dealt for third-round picks or fourth-round picks, and the Lions don't have them because they trade them on trade deadline on draft day, then
he doesn't have the ammunition to move as much on trade day because he likes to use it on draft day.
And until they win a Super Bowl, it's going to be a criticism.
Yep. And by the way, moving draft picks for Isaac Tesla was one of the most popular things throughout the preseason. It slowly lost steam because we haven't seen Tesla do much.
Right. And the one thing you'll never know is, how valued was Tesla from other teams. Did the Lions need to move up to get him? Yep. They certainly felt like they needed to, and they've had a couple players that they've drafted that they felt like they needed to that have been projects, whether it's Tesla or Giovanni Manu. I think they moved up to take Broderick Martin as well. And so far, the results are not very good on those three players. Not that I think Tesla has a really bright future. I think he can be a really good receiver. But he's got to get on the field to do it.
Feedback coming in. David Benton Harbor says, let's not act like we all know more than Brad or Dan. Just a few weeks ago, everyone was saying we were toast with our banged-up secondary before the Tampa game and that Brad failed to address this more in the offseason. Well, they worked the backups into the system and had a week to get them ready. And how did that turn out? How about we do the same? How about they say, who says they can't do the same, rather, with their offensive line backups? And they have in the past with their offensive line backups. Like they've won games with Owasika, big games with Owasika and Dan Skipper playing a lot of snaps, if not starting. I think they started all three of those games I mentioned. Kang, your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm very disappointed that the Lions didn't do much or anything at the trade deadline because I thought there was plenty of areas where they could help improve this team, especially with all the injuries. Number one being the offensive line that you guys have spoken of. Trevor Penning, the trade from the Saints, the guard tackle, to the Chargers for a 6th-round pick 2 years from now is a trade I definitely would have done on paper. Now, of course, Brad Holmes and his scouts have the film. They broke it down. Maybe they didn't like Trevor Penning at all. And I can, understand that. He just seems to me like a guy on paper who's now playing guard. He was drafted a 1st-round pick in 2022 as a tackle, now playing guard. But to me, that tells me that he's versatile enough to play inside out if they need to. You're not going to get a clear upgrade out there unless you're willing to give up the draft capital for it. And clearly, Brad Holmes is not going to do that. He's not going to pull off a Sauce Gardner deal for a guard or a tackle. It's just not worth it for him, and I get that. What you're trying to do is get better backups, better depth, right? I thought Trevor Penning was a deal that we know that happened that maybe the Lions could have got involved in. Deals that we don't know that could have happened or not, the guard Evan Neal from the Giants. He also drafted as a tackle, hasn't worked out. But
he went untraded.
Yeah, he didn't get traded, though, so I don't know what the asking there was. And also, I don't know if they just don't like him. They saw the film and said, he's not better than what we have on this team. Right now, we know the interior of the offensive line of the Lions is in kind of disarray with the Frank Ragnow retirement, the injuries, and just young guys playing that position. That's why everyone's really concerned that they didn't do anything there. With all that being said, here's my unpopular opinion. I trust Brad Holmes. I just do. And he's not going to get a trade for a position just to trade for a position, just like he doesn't draft for positions. They trade and draft and acquire players. And if they don't like the players that are out there compared to the players they already have on their roster, they're just not going to do it. I still think this team is one of the best teams in the NFL, and I still think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I know it sounds crazy, people, but I do think they're that good. They've got to shore up the middle of that offensive line, though, because Jared Goff needs protection. He needs time, and because when he has it, we know how good he can be.
Well, I hope this. I hope that the solutions that they have when it comes to the offensive line play, I hope not only is it A, in-house, but I hope B, more importantly, that it's just simply looking at technique and communication and perhaps, tightening up the playbook and making sure the guys aren't trying to do things that are too difficult for them based on defenses you're facing or whatever. I hope that they can maybe simplify things just to get this thing back under control where they're able to run the football. Running the football is the lifeblood for this football team. Yep. It absolutely is. And the offensive line is not what it was last year. It's different. And it has a chance to be good, but right now it's in a little disarray because there are injuries involved. And, you still have some on-the-job learning from a couple of the players. So I really hope that solution that they have is in-house and it wasn't a missed opportunity to go ahead and give up something you're not comfortable with giving up, which would have been a higher draft pick, to acquire a player that would really improve the roster.
College football blitz thingy is straight ahead here on 97.1 The Ticket.